All right, today on the show, we are chatting with Becs Gentry. Becs, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been like following Becks for a long time, much longer than.
Yeah. So Becs and I first met in person at a Nike event in March in LA when we were celebrating Joan Benoit Samuelson, which was super fun and a very cool event. But
so cool.
I don't even think I told you this, Becs. One of the first times I stumbled upon you / wanted to follow and hear more about your story is you did a documentary I think it was with Peloton, and it followed you to the Olympic trials, I want to say.
Yep.
And I fell in love with that series and just binge watched it. And it was our inspiration for a project we did later following.
I was going to say that.
Jordan Trofe doing 3 marathons in 3 days under 2:30. But it stemmed from watching this documentary where I loved how it was filmed. I loved how it's story told. And it made me get to know you as a person and just want to find out more about you.
Wow. Thank you. That's so lovely and so kind. And I'm really happy it inspired more production and more running joy for sure. But yeah, that was a wild time.
Now, the accent, I hear an accent, but you live in New York, right?
I live in New York. I've lived here 6 years. Tomorrow is my anniversary. But I'm originally from the UK.
Awesome.
So, I guess let's start way back. So Becs in the UK, growing up, what was childhood like?
Did you like the Spice Girls?
Into running?
I did.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
I was a Spice Girls fan. Childhood for me was very different to how adulthood is. And I always have to kind of start my stories about childhood in that how different education and schooling, should I say, is in the UK versus the USA, because everybody I meet here in the USA is like, what did you do at school? And that's not talking about what book you read or what degree you did. It is what sport. Like, were you track? Were you field? Were you this? Were you that? Whereas in the UK, it's generally you're either one or the other. You're either sports or academia. And it's quite rare, bar a couple of universities, that you do both. And you definitely are not like, yeah, I'm a football bro, but I'm also like a psych major. It's just like, you Americans, that's weird. And we tend to leave it all at school, at university, whereas like it stays into my, I'm 38 years old and my friends are around the same age, and it's still like, yeah, what did you do at school? I'm like, guys, that was 20 years ago.
Bex, I'm going to tell you, it gets even weirder in Baltimore specifically. When they say, what school did you go to? They're not talking about your college. They want to know what high school you went to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. They're going way back.
Yeah.
Way back. Okay. That's more on my language level of school. I'm like, I get that. Yeah, school, university. So for me, school, I was sporty. And then I went to university, but I studied visual arts and communications. And I definitely didn't play sport at university at all. Polar opposite, partied, like party animal at university. And I think in my second year, towards the end of my second year at university, I realized that I was on a big unhealthy kick and I needed to shake myself out of it. So I started walking to university. It was quite a long way. It was back in the day. Do you remember? Did you guys have MBTs here? The shoes that were on rockers?
The MBT shoe was like an extreme rocker shoe.
Yeah.
That it basically, if you heard of Skechers Shape Ups, they pretty much were the same style shoe. And I don't know if you were going to go here, but they claim that because you were off balance all the time, that you were burning more calories.
Oh, interesting.
You're burning more calories, and apparently it was really good shaping your butt as well.
Oh.
I don't have one of those, so it did nothing for me.
Little did I know as a runner, I wouldn't have one in years to come. But I was like, I'm in. So I bought these shoes and I would walk my way 10K to and from university most days. And then that kind of started me to like movement again.
So you were getting 10K total, or it was like a 3K there or 5K there and 5K back?
It was about 10K each way.
Whoa.
I didn't always do it both ways. When I started working, I did because I was broke as well. So it was easier for me. That was my theme. I mean, I started running everywhere because I was broke too.
Did the MBTs do what they promised?
I mean, they may have helped my cardiovascular. I don't think they shaped my butt in any way.
That's what I was. Because I'm gonna go buy a pair of it.
Same. I'm gonna go straight to Skechers.
Yeah. So you did play sports. You're saying through like elementary, high school, or I forget. You guys called something different.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you just stopped when you went to college or university.
Yeah, because my university was just an academia university.
Okay.
It was in the middle of London. There was no teams. There was no like collegiate run crew, anything like that. If you ran, it was totally by yourself. If you went to the gym, it was by yourself. I don't even, that may have been, I didn't go, but I don't.
There had to be clubs, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. I just don't think there were any, like, I don't even think there was a gym at my university.
Is this Oxford or Cambridge?
I wished. I went to London Metropolitan. It was Guildhall on that station.
Oh,
it's
the
now
old
Metropolitan.
You guys got a great mascot.
Was happy to leave and happy to get that done. So right, all the movement and sport was before. I was tennis player, lacrosse player, netball player, every sport at school. Athletics, people used to laugh at me when I ran because I ran like Phoebe from Friends with my arms and legs everywhere. A lot has changed. And then after university, it all started coming back.
That's interesting because Phoebe, I wonder what her marathon time is. I know that you've Olympic trial qualified at least. I mean, it's different. Did you do that for the UK? Is it a different process?
Yeah. I did it for the UK. My New York City Marathon race time in 2019 was the one that caught their eye, the Team GB. And that was 2:37. They were like, okay, we'd like to invite you to the trials.
And then what happened?
Then I trained really, really, really hard. So that invitation came a year later. So that was 2020, middle of COVID, very, very difficult. It was great actually because there was less work, there was less social life, so I could actually just run and train really hard. And then the trials were the following March 2021 in Kew Gardens in London, and we had to have all these exemplary letters to enable us to fly to the UK for no reason. And it was wild. And and I missed it by a hair in clock terms, in eons in runners terms. You know, a lot of people who don't get running are like, oh, you were so close. I was like, I really wasn't. I got a 2:32. You had to get a 2:29:30. I was like, there's a lot of work between 2:32 and 2:29.
Maybe like a half mile.
Yeah. Like it's a lot of pain.
But is the trial similar to the US trials where you have like, we invite everybody who's gotten Olympic trials qualification time and then they run a race and whoever the three people who win, that's not the same over in the UK, right?
They invite, I don't think it's invited everybody, but not everybody goes, that's for sure, because I think we have so many more races because of the Euros, the champs, like there's so many more regular races over there in Europe and the UK. So, but it's still how it happens is the same. The top three go through under the qualifying time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was top two and then they like randomly pick someone, but it's the top three go?
For the one I did, it was the top three.
Maybe they changed.
Would go. But only the top two in the race I did actually got the qualifying time.
Oh, got it.
So Rosie, who came, I came fourth. She came third, and she was 2:31:50 something. Like she was steps ahead of me. Whereas the girls who came first and second, they were under the 2:29, I believe, 2:29:30.
Who was the person we talked to?
That's Rosie.
No,
Rosie Edwards.
Oh, no.
The Adidas.
Charlotte Purdue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Charlotte Purdue.
That's it.
Yeah, she had the time, but from a different race because she couldn't race the trials because of injury. Yeah, that was very convoluted way around. Getting her.
Apparently, though, she's in this year.
She is.
Or you got it in this year.
Yeah.
But I was watching the European national champion or the European championships, and this had to be like 2018, 2000, maybe earlier. You know, when you're looking for something to do on the treadmill, you probably never have that problem. But for me, I don't have a Peloton subscription. and so I was watching the women's European championship, and she was out there. So you weren't there. And it was before super shoes. Like everybody was wearing flats.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So crazy.
Yeah, it is a wild time. Okay, let's go back before, obviously we know you're super fast now, but when did this all happen? So you were walking 10K in university, and then how do you go from that to a 2:32 marathoner?
A lot of miles.
MBTs.
So MBTs kickstarted my career, sponsor me. I essentially was really lucky in I didn't love an office job. I did it. I worked in PR for 5 years, thereabouts, 5-6 years. And I was good at it. I'm a personable person. I got to chat to journalists. I made some really good friends, and I worked in beauty PR. So I loved all the nail varnish and perfumes and girly stuff. And then I was constantly running though at the same time. I was just still this Forrest Gump girl in a weird world. And this was back before running was cool. Like people were still like, you're so odd. Why do you run everywhere? Why have you always got a backpack with your heels in and like showering at a gym and going for another run to run home? Like it was odd to people. And I changed my career. I took myself out of PR and I went back to school and I did a business and personal training course and degree and just went, this is what I need to do. And I was so lucky that Nike were starting their NRC and NTC classes were growing. And I became a Nike trainer. And we were doing strength classes, and they were about to launch NRC, the Nike Run Club, globally, and they needed a female lead in Europe. So I was lucky enough to be that person, and it just kind of kick-started this insane experience.
That is insane, because you had to be so young at the time that...
I was 27, 28, yeah.
I mean, that's still like... I would consider that pretty young to be handed the keys to the kingdom there, which is basically, you get involved with Nike and you're a face for Nike. That's a pretty powerful spot for you to be in your 20s.
And what exactly was your role? Like, what was your day to day?
So we did run clubs. I did a women's only run club on a Monday from a store. I did like a run club on a speed workout from a different store on a Tuesday. I think I didn't do anything on a Wednesday, and then a Thursday I had another massive, like our biggest one, and then Friday I did an early morning training class and a run. So it was a mixture. We'd like run to a park in London, do a workout, and then we'd run back to the store. So it was all store-based stuff. And then as Nike grew their racing catalog, which was all around that time, we would go to races, and then I'd work really closely with Coach Bennett and Chris Bennett, if you know him, absolute legend in the industry, and Blue Benedum, Mike Fish, like all the guys who were helping NRC grow in the US. We all came together. There was a guy called Jan Fischen in Germany, Corey Wharton-Malcolm and I in the UK, and we basically all worked together, and we ended up having NRC clubs in, I think it was 51 countries in the world doing the same thing, like the run clubs from their different stores, because there was Nike stores and still are all over every city, every country. And it was a community building thing. People would come, they'd meet friends, they'd come every week. And it was wild. It was just, I was never home. I was always traveling. I was always running and just doing great things and in amongst this insane swoosh community.
Yeah. Chris seems to me, Coach Bennett, he's sort of almost like a little Buddha figure in running. Like he always knows the right thing to say and the right way to say it. Did you, when you're working with him, and at this time, this is almost 10 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so do you feel like the things that you were learning with Nike at that time period are things that changed the trajectory of your career and opened up these other doors that you're in now?
Absolutely, because it put me in my element that I didn't know existed. This running, moving world surrounded by people. Because to me, running before was very solo. I would do it to commute to work, home from work. I wasn't part of a run crew or run club in London or anywhere else I've lived. So to suddenly be part of this beautiful bunch of people who were all different abilities from all over the world and all had different stories behind them, and we'd just go out and we'd chat and we'd run and we'd come back and we'd stretch, and it didn't matter who you were in that moment. If you had any airs and graces about you, they disappear when you run because you're all in running kit. Like, okay, now there's obviously a bit more of a difference in running kit. You can spend a fortune or whatever, but back then it really didn't matter. Everyone was in just like a t-shirt and some shorts and whatever, and like there wasn't the super shoes versus the non-super shoes. There was just running shoes.
I still think it's pretty democratic that way. Like as far as you show up,
considering the rest of the world,
you can't pay for performance. So you either get fit or you don't get fit. So you could be the poorest guy out in a run club, but have some of the fastest times, or you could be, vice versa. It really is a humbling and easy way for people to just kind of show off what they've got or don't have.
Yeah, I agree. I love it.
It's funny because when I think of NRC, like the Nike Run Club, I think of an app and it being a digital community. And so it's interesting to hear you talk about it in its infancy, and it's you out with people. Were you ever a part of, like, I think they have now like coaches where you can run with someone in your ear. Were you ever doing that style of coaching?
Yeah, I took it all the way through until 6.5 years ago when I got my job offer from Peloton and I had to step away from recording anything more with Nike. But I did some incredible runs with Paula Radcliffe, for example, with Mo Farah, just like on location. And Mo and I ran in Barcelona randomly.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Paula and I just ran around London, and it was super cool. And I got to do the first Breaking 2 event there with when Eliud Kipchoge tried to break 2 in Monza. We took a bunch of runners from around the world out there, and we trained a journalist to try and do a sub 90-minute half, and we paced him in the flying formation, the same as Eliud had for Breaking 2 earlier that morning, we being a bunch of Nike coaches and pacers. So there was all these different events that kind of, as the years unfolded and technology grew, we were able to record things to make really fun digital episodes. And now it's very much like the rest of the world. A lot of it is just online now.
I like the, and you probably were already gone, but the Headspace collabs.
Yeah.
Those were fun.
They're fun.
Where were you when the pandemic happened? Were you Nike or Peloton?
Peloton. I was in New York. I'd been in New York for coming up to 2 years. That was March 2020 when it started. Yeah, I moved here in May 2018.
Okay, so
perfect timing to be Peloton.
Yeah, talk to me about how Peloton came about, because I'm very curious about the like the audition process, if you will.
One day someone is just going to put all of our audition tapes up online, and I'd be happy
amazing.
with that.
I'd love to watch that.
Yeah. So Rebecca Kennedy, who is an instructor at Peloton, she has been a friend of mine and a colleague in Nike for many years. So Rebecca and I were Nike training club trainers together globally. And when she came to Peloton, she was tasked with creating the running team from its from its iteration. And we were really heavily into boot camp and running. That was our like start, was boot camps. And she was like, oh, but I know this one girl who's this like big runner, but she's in London. So she reached out to me and I signed all the necessary NDAs. I had no idea what Peloton was because it wasn't in the UK at that time. It was only in the US. So I was like, what? Peloton? Isn't that a bike? Like, isn't that a group of cyclists? Like, I don't cycle. I don't understand. And she got me to do a recording of me talking to camera and taking people through a boot camp, 15 minutes, essentially 5 minutes of running, 5 minutes on the floor. And I passed, I guess, that first audition, and I got invited to New York. And I did 3 rounds. I came to New York 3 times, and every time I had to be like undercover. But with Nike also being here, it was kind of like people didn't bat an eyelid because I came to New York a lot with Nike. And then, after the 3rd time, or maybe it was the 3rd trip, I did audition that trip, and then later on that trip, they offered me the job, and then that was December of 2017.
Now, at that time, obviously, I'm gonna guess the relationship that you have now started here in the States, or
yes.
Were you okay? I was gonna say, because that's a big ask to switch countries.
I was married at the time, since got divorced, and then I met my partner here in the US.
So the decision to go to New York, was that an easy one, or were you hesitant about leaving the UK at all?
She's
no.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
ready to go.
I was ready to go. I was ready to go. I was ready to change. I traveled so much. I was alongside working with Nike. I was a personal trainer. I had my own personal training company, and I had a couple of very high net worth individuals as clients, and they would take me with them for a month here and there to private islands. So I was never home.
That's
never.
crazy.
When I was home, I was running. I was doing Nike stuff. And when I wasn't, I was running and training in a different country. So
if I take you as a client and I'd say, okay, Becks, you're coming with me. We're going to the islands. I got a month here because I got nothing else to do and I got my yacht.
Yeah.
How much time are we spending exercising? Do you have a whole plan for me the whole day, or is it just an hour?
Oh no. It would generally be husband and wife in the morning, eat a session each, and they'd end up being 90 minutes each because you chat, you stretch, you're in the paradise. And then sometimes the kids, I just every now and again would do activities with the kids to keep them active, not just sitting around on their iPads or whatever they were using at that time. But they were very active families. So they'd like to go, ocean swimming. So if it was a boat day or a beach day, it would be okay, should we go swimming in the ocean? And so I was always, with them for that too. But it was generally quite a nice gig.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's
because we don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Right? It's wild.
What's one of the coolest or craziest places you went on one of these?
I went to some crazy places. So I went to the island of Mustique very often, which is in St. Vincent in the Grenadines, and being British, we stayed in the house that looked over Princess Anne's house.
Oh, wow.
Which, if you've watched The Crown, there's all sorts about it in that. And I just fell on this. Mustique is a semi-private island. You can go there, but you kind of need an invitation / authorization to go. And it's a tiny island. It's 5 miles, I think, circumference, and I would just run it every day, and it was so hilly and so hot, and they got to know me that they were just there's that crazy white girl just running around again all the time. I was morning and I'd be doing it at 5 6 a.m. before I trained the family for the day, so they were just constantly you're so weird. And after years of going, they'd just be, they'd know my name. I was no longer the crazy white girl, but they just, they got to know me, and it was fun. But I love that. And just, some of the places we stayed in Europe were unreal, like the stuff you see on Instagram now where you're like, that doesn't exist. And then you pull up, you're like, oh, okay. It does exist for some people.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a very cool job with very cool perks. But I also see getting tired and wanting to maybe be in one place for longer amounts of time.
What if the people that you're there with are not nice people, and then you're stuck on this fantastic island with these jerks?
That never happened. My families I was with were unreal, but it definitely did take its toll on me. And obviously my marriage broke down after being away for so long. So it was, that's the bittersweet side of things. So now I love the balance that I have of travel when I need it, when I need a bit of, okay, mom's going to go on a crazy running adventure. It's not a holiday. She'll be back.
It's funny because we do the same thing. Like for work, we go nice places to run, and it's hard to explain that it is while it's a perk and it's great to be able to go out there, it's still work.
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
Yeah, I literally said to Austin, my partner, I was like, I haven't had a holiday in a while. Like I've been going to some great places. I'm heading to Greece with Nike on Sunday to run, but I'm like, we're still doing a 24-hour run. Like it's not going to be all sitting by the pool and having a glass of champagne. Like no.
How many kids?
Just one girl, 19 months.
Oh wow! So you're in the heat.
Yes. Yeah. I literally, that's why I say I don't mind sitting down, because once I've got my classes taught, I've done my training, and if Tallulah is at daycare, which she is today, or with the nanny, I'm like, I'm sitting down, okay? Because the minute it is me and her, she's like, mama.
Meg, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I just spent the weekend with my 2-year-old nephew while his parents were away in Jamaica having a proper holiday.
Good for them.
Yes.
Good for them. And are you exhausted? Do you need a couple of weeks off?
Yeah, it was, it was fun, but there's no downtime, right? Like, if there's
it's also different.
No
like you were doing like a 5K compared to her ultra.
Yes.
Like you were there for like a short period of time and out. Becks, there's no end. There's no finish line.
There's no like, I remember the trials was like the last thing I really trained my butt off for. And I'd do my run, I'd come home, I'd have an ice bath and then a hot shower. Then I'd have a really lazy breakfast. I'd put my Normatec boots on. I'd sit and I'd work on my laptop with the boots, That does not happen. I come home. I am lucky if I get to shower as soon as I get home from a run. Like normally I have to wait for her to nap or go to bed depending on when I've got home. And I'm just like, I stink. I'm disgusting. I don't even know where my Normatec boots are.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I can understand that. Okay. So you moved to New York for Peloton. You start working there. And then you're 2 years in and the pandemic happens. What was that like for you? So this is also when you run your 237 in New York? Right
so
around there?
I'd run that the November before. Yeah. 2019.
So it's right before.
And that was, as I recall, a very big PR for you, right? Like that was what were you doing? Was that all Peloton related or?
You just heard her. She gets home, ice bath, takes it down, sauna, and then puts the Normatec boots on.
My recovery was peak. It was a 12-minute PR for me on the day. And I ran and I ran and I ran that summer. That summer was, my divorce was finalized. I was going through a lot of personal change, stress, on top of a job that was going like this I was becoming known. I went from being Becks to walking along the street and someone would know who I was, but they were a stranger to me. And it was just that like, okay, this is all a lot of shifting. And I was also like single in New York at 30, however old I was at that point. So I was going out, I was having fun, I was not sleeping as well as I could, but I was still running all the miles. And I think, I'm not saying that this is a great way to train because it was awful, but my body was just pushed to a new level. And when I recovered. I mean, I've always been a big Normatec boots fan, and I sleep really well, even with a baby. Like me and sleep are best friends. So I think when I did have off days, I would sleep, or if it was summer, I would go with my girlfriends and find a stretch of grass on the West Side Highway, and we'd finish our runs there and just pass out, sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
Literally. But that was training, and just being quite specific about the fact that I was teaching. And back in those days, it was still early Peloton days, so we were teaching a lot. And I'd jump into my colleagues' classes. I may teach at 6:00, and I may have then had to sub at 7 because Sims didn't make it in or something. And then I'd jump into Mattie's 9:00 class.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like, we were so full of excitement and freedom back in those days to just bop around, that I think that did play a huge part in my cardiovascular health and fitness really going through the roof ahead of New York.
It's interesting you talk a little bit about like kind of the early days of Peloton, and then a little bit you talked about starting to be recognized on the street, but especially during the pandemic, the Peloton instructors almost became celebrities on their own.
Yeah.
What was it like to kind of, or when you started getting like recognized and you started realizing, what was going through your head as far as like, was it shocking, or was it like, oh no, we have this many subscribers and this is bound to happen?
It was strange because I think from having been in the running community and going to races where you are recognized by other people who you run with, like especially from my Nike days, that was what I knew. But I kind of was like, oh, well, that's because I semi know that person because they run with Red Snakes in Milan. And I know Mike from that. You could almost connect the dots with people. So then when COVID hit and Peloton got super, super popular, I think it was the fact that we were there when literally everything else other than first responders and, health services shut down. We were still going into the studio or doing, I taught tread classes from my apartment, and we carried on. And then I think we had a captive audience. People had nothing else to do. We all went through is 11 o'clock too early for a glass of wine time. And then we all went back to learning, changing, doing these incredible online courses that some of the top universities were offering, or training to do a marathon, training to do an Ironman, whatever was this new challenge. And I think that we were still there giving some feeling of normality to people, whether it was old normality or new normality, was just, well, what kind of kickstarted us. And then I vividly remember stepping out towards the end of COVID, but we were still wearing, like, COVID as in COVID proper, like right at the start, when it was still really like, is this thing in the air? Like, what is this? A horror movie situation?
Washing oranges.
Like, I felt like a surgeon. Every time I came home into my mother-in-law's house, we were like, no one touch anything. Wash, 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 wash. Like, take your clothes off, put it in the washing machine. It was wild. But we stepped out like later on. We were back in New York. We were back in the studio. So it was like August, September of that year. Mm-hmm. And everyone was still wearing masks outside to go to the shops and stuff. And people started to just be like, you're Becks. And I was like, what? Yeah, I am. Who are you? And like, it's just my eyes. How can you tell who I am? And that's when it started to pick up, and just then it went on from there.
Well, that's kind of crazy because right now we're seeing, I think, the ripple effect of all these people who were, like you said, looking for something to create normalcy during the pandemic. So you had a lot of people take up running, take up Peloton cycling, whatever it was that was an option rather than gyms were closed. But so you got to witness somewhat of this sea change in the industry and people coming into it. Are you surprised that running is in a boom right now with like races selling out, or did you see this happening as you were teaching courses that like your numbers were growing and growing and growing?
I've seen this happening for 10 years, I think. I've seen it grow, not just from Peloton, from Nike, from the fact that I think the way the world's going is we're juxtaposing it with everything that we do. Social media is supposed to bring us together, but it's isolating us. So we look for other forms of entertainment. I'm saying entertainment with air quotes here. I know that our listeners can't see me, because Peloton is a form of entertainment and fitness, but it's a community. So running is crossed over into both of those things now. You get influenced and inspired by people through social media who you may never meet. And that then gives you the uptick in energy to go to your local community run, or perhaps meet some friends you've met on the Peloton leaderboard at a race that you've all traveled to, for example. So I think the fact that running is bringing people together in a world that is slowly trying to isolate us is wonderful. And I've definitely seen that grow from run crew days through to now.
That's an interesting take because I didn't think about it that way as far as the need to come together. And we're seeing all these run clubs and run crews were run, like you said earlier, you felt like it was a nerdy sport you did by yourself. And then you started coming into groups and realizing that it was more fun to run with people and to make friends and socialize and do all that stuff. And I guess I didn't think about it building the community through like a Peloton course, but then people feeling familiar with other people that are in the class or whatever, and then creating their own outlets for it makes sense.
Yeah, it's amazing to see groups of, so like my group is called the Becks Beasts, and we love flamingos, and because a flamingo is always on one leg like a runner, and it blows me away when I see groups. Like there was one, I think it was the rock and roll race in San Francisco in 2021, and there was hundreds of Becs Beasts who showed up for this race in person and also virtually. And I spoke to one of the organizers, and she was just like, who is this Becks person? Because most of our runners are like, their thing is Becs Beasts. And so it's just so cool to see it. You know, I see people from the UK and the US meeting up at London Marathon, and they've never met other than like high-fived each other on the leaderboard, and then there they are having their pre-race dinner together and celebrating post-race, and it's beautiful. It's so cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's nice to see the digital world come together in real life. We see that similarly in like some of the group runs we'll host, so I can totally understand that. Yeah. And yeah, it's fun to see. Okay, you said when you were first getting started, like you would jump into all these classes and you guys were all excited and hyped up about everything. You've been doing this for 6 years now. Are there ever days where you're like,
she can't tell you that.
I'm tired. I don't feel like doing this. Like, do you have like a switch that you can just turn on and be like Energizer Becks, or like, how do you do that?
Oh yeah. there are definitely, over the 6 years, there's definitely been days where I've gone through everything from being viciously hungover to being sad to being ill, injured, can't be bothered. You know, I'm a human. These things happen. Yeah. And it's definitely, honestly, we have tally lights we have 10 cameras in the Tread studio, all placed in different locations that only an instructor will really know where they are. And you're in there before, you're just doing a thing, getting yourselves ready. And as soon as the tally lights go on camera 1 or 10, whichever one they're starting on right in front of us, that red light is like trips a switch in me. And it's all of a sudden, I can have my countdown. Our PA can be going 5, 4, and I'm still like, the light comes on and I'm like, what's up, Peloton? And it all changes.
So
it's, I guess I have to think, it's the tally light. So thank those little tiny red dots.
Okay, so I'm going to ask because our viewers who are listening can't see it, but I can see it on screen. And if you're watching on YouTube, you might notice you have a couple tattoos.
Yes.
And can you run us through some of the tattoos, when you got them and why?
I can. I have looks like Tallulah's scribbled on me these days. So all my tattoos have a meaning, for sure, bar one, which I got after a couple of gin and tonics when I was about 18 in Camden.
Is it a flamingo?
I do have a flamingo, but that one has my full meaning. No, that one is, no one ever sees it, so it's fine.
Oh no, it's not a tramp stamp, is it?
I do have one of those too, but that one does have a meaning. It's tiny, but it's a different tramp stamp. It's a star, but not that I wear anything low cut anymore. But when I used to wear anything low cut, it looked like the Playboy bunny ears coming out of my trousers. But it's not. It's just the top 2 spikes of a 5-pronged star. It's just, it's terrible.
So funny.
That's amazing.
So I have my Tallulah turtle down here. My daughter is Tallulah. When she was little, for the first couple of months of her life, we thought she had no hearing because she failed all of her hearing tests multiple times in both ears. So my partner and I were learning sign language, and she would just be there all swaddled up. And as she was starting to kind of, I guess she was 3 weeks early. So there was a lot of formation still happening and finalizing when she came earthside. And I guess as her ears were sealing, she would every now and again just be in her swaddle and just be like, or she'd look like a little turtle trying to come out of its shell. And she passed her hearing tests, and we call her Tallulah Turtle. And so my partner and I both have our Tallulah Turtle.
Oh, that's cute.
I have ABC tattooed on me. Austin and I are not married, but we're partners, and it's Austin Becks Curtis. That's us on there. I have my New York water tower that I got when I got my green card as a little, this is home now. A Georgia O'Keeffe take on a goat skull. Goats are one of my favorite animals.
Goats?
And it's got, I love goats.
See, I think intelligent people like goats. I mean,
really?
We got you and now Emma Bates. I grew up. I had a
fast
pet.
people
I had
too.
a pet. Well, no, because I'm going to ruin this one. I had a pet goat growing up. I had 2.
Wow.
One passed away, but
Oh,
I mean, I'm
that's
sure
my
the other
dream.
one's gone now too.
Still hanging around.
Boy, that
Who
would
knows
be
how
one
old they
old
could
goat.
live?
Maybe that's why they call them old goats.
Old goats, exactly. I actually want fainting goats because I think they're super cool.
Oh, I love those. Have you? You've obviously seen. There's an Instagram meme going around. Those 2 goats that come out and they start screaming, and they're like, and it's like you finally found somebody as weird as you are. That one, I've been sent that several times.
Yeah. Between goats and flamingos, I'm like, there's a lot.
Now, Georgia O'Keeffe normally does flowers. I can't see it that clearly. What makes it a Georgia O'Keeffe goat?
It's the skull. So she has a very famous
the Southwestern.
skull.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a skull of a goat that I have I have a house in the Canary Islands, and I have a goat skull there. So that's that. And then I put English roses on it as well for my English side. I have a Dr. Wu tattoo. If you know tattoos, he's a legend within the tattooing world. And I got that before he got super, super famous through a friend of a friend at 3 a.m. in the morning, which is, people have been like, I can't believe you have it.
If you can get a Dr. Wu, you go at any time that he's available.
Yes. Right. Yeah. And then this arm is all crazy. It's my flamingo. I love palm trees. I have 2 palm trees. I have a dancing lady who is balancing plates because you have to figure out which plates are glass and which plates are plastic in order to keep spinning. I have Tallulah written in my mom's handwriting here.
Oh.
I have a dancing skeleton because the first thing I ever said to Austin was, "I love your skeleton tattoo." And that was the stupidest thing that came out of my mouth.
Actually, when I met you, I think I said something even dumber, but yeah, you're taller than I thought. And I think I just said you're bigger than I thought you'd be. Makes like, great, Thomas. I'm like, ah.
Yeah, be like, oh, can I rewind, please?
Yeah, I meant that your height. You see people on screen and they fit on a tiny screen, and then, yeah.
Yeah, you knew where you were going with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's loads. English rose, a giraffe for my mom. They're her favorite animals. An arrow. When my dad got diagnosed with cancer, I didn't want to get something if he passed. So the motto of an arrow is an arrow can only be shot forward by being pulled back. So think about where you're going. And it was all a lot of change in my life too when I got that. So my dad is doing well. He's still alive.
you kind of had, like, it's kind of interesting because I'm sure people look at you and they say, okay, Peloton instructor, OTQ runner, like a lot of positive stuff. Now your mom. But it had the period of time where you're going through divorce and going through moving to a new city. These are all like major, even if it seems like it can be a positive change, like shifting countries and a new job, it's still such a stressor and such a like moment in a period in your life where you're adjusting. And it sounds like running kind of got you through a lot of that, like just like you said, like with the arrow moving forward. But like that had to be a really difficult period of time. How long was that like transitory kind of like period of your life?
I'd say it was probably 18 months or so of moving here, getting settled, understanding that I wasn't able to just hop in a car and see my family anymore. Like it was, and I had a fine job in London and I earned okay. But moving to a new place, having no credit as an alien, living in a country that requires you to have a good credit score to get any sort of rental by yourself, and not having anyone who could be my, what's that called?
Co-signer.
Your co-signer, yeah, it's just somebody to back you up. Like if I was at home, I would have just put my mom or my sister or whatever. But had no one here, so it was like emptying out my savings in order to get an apartment because you had to give first month deposit, last month deposit, first month. You're just like, oh my gosh, where's all this gone? So I think that was very, very stressful. For sure. But running was my familiarity. Running was something that didn't change from the UK, from the islands to New York. It was the one thing I knew, no matter how hard the day was, I would be able to get out and feel released for sure. Whether people who take my classes know I'm a crier. There's sometimes I'll be happy as anything in a class and chatting away and a song will come on and I'll just suddenly be like, oh my God, I can't, I'm crying because running is cathartic. And I think that's a strength for me, is that it lets that stuff out, because any other time, unless I'm with Austin and I'm at home, but like any other stranger facing time, I'm quite tough. I'm trying to keep it in. So when I'm running, even though I'm in front of strangers, that's so me, and it's intrinsically me that I can't stop the tears and letting that catharsis come out. So it definitely helped.
If somebody was going through that kind of change in their life right now, and I think a lot of people even start an exercise routine or something when they're going through a tough period of time. Like, you always see like break up people, join a gym or whatever.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone who's going through uncertain, big life changes, ending a relationship? What would you tell them?
I would say.
Sorry.
Ralphie, stop.
It's probably.
Hi, buddy.
Hold on a sec.
We have a beagle mix, and he's not that big, but he has a very loud, deep bark.
Yeah, he's a hunting dog. He's got to let people know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, it sounds like our dogs. Our retriever has a bark like that I'm like, always.
Yeah.
He's like singing. I like it. He's like melodic with his bark. It's quite cute. This always happens to me when I'll put Tallulah down and it'll be a particularly, like it'll feel like it's an easy night where I'm like, oh, she's just in her crib. She's gone down, and I'll walk out and Maurice will just forget that's our retriever and just be like, oh, I'm like, damn it.
It's the worst timing.
Sorry.
The worst timing. It's quite
Can I ask you this deep
I have
question?
2 dogs, so I get it. 2 big dogs in New York. They are constantly barking at the wrong time. Okay, so advice. I would advise anyone going through a rough time, starting out with any form of new movement, to be very humble with their body and to give themselves grace of maybe you want to, let's use running because that's what I'm best at knowing. Maybe you want to go out and run really hard because you're angry or you're grieving or you just feel like that challenge or that difficult movement will make you feel better. It may in the moment, but you need to give your body so much grace when you're going through emotional things, because all of these underlying hormones and energy changes within you don't feel until it's too late. It comes out in an injury. It comes out in a sickness. So go and run that 1 minute really fast and then perhaps walk and just let the tears come out. And if you're not a crier, I ask you to put on a song that makes you feel sad and try and run hard, because you'll probably cry at some point. It's like, especially when you just stop afterwards, when you do push yourself to a perceived limit and you go, oh God, that was tough. And you let it go. It's like that big, deep exhale of a breath. When you're exhausted, then the other stuff can kind of come out. And I think that for me, the catharsis is crying, and I'm perhaps a therapist would get really deep into that, but I'll leave that for another couple of years. But it's that level of just let it out. It's, it's everything. And as runners, we know it's better out than in. It's not going to serve you.
So you mentioned it's when a specific song comes on that it'll bring the tears for you. Are you building these playlists? Are you the one picking out the songs?
Yeah, so we do everything. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're like, are you prepared for it? You're like, it's a crying day and this song's on here.
Is it Careless Whisper?
There's a couple like that. There's definitely a couple like that. Yeah, sometimes I'll be playlisting and I'll be at home and I'm feeling great. Like I'm cuddled up with Maurice, like Tallulah's in bed. I've had a great day and everything is rosy in that moment. And then I'll be running and it will just bubble up something different that when I was sitting playlisting, not moving my body, it didn't scratch the surface off. But there and then, whilst I'm encouraging people to be strong, whilst I'm getting them motivated, it will tickle something in me that's like, oh my gosh, you heard this song at that point in your life when you needed this. And then I'll start to get emotional, or anything that my parents love. Again, I could be sitting there playlisting and I'm like, my mom loves this song, my dad loves this song, my sister loves this song, I'm going to put it in class. And then I'll be running and I'll be 25, 40 minutes into a 60-minute run. I'm tired. And then my mom's favorite song comes on and I'm like, I miss my mom.
So do we have a tears playlist?
I have a couple. I know, I have to be really careful with Andrea Bocelli. I play a lot of classical music in my classes, so I have to be very careful with certain Andrea Bocelli songs for my mom. A lot of the slower Beatles tracks, because I played a lot of them to Tallulah again when we were hoping that she would hear them. Oh my God, Blackbird, Sunshine. Oh my God, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, because I used to sing that to her. Now I'm just like, I bawl when they come on. So it's yeah.
Hey Jude.
Hey Jude. That one just reminds me of my sister being a doofus, so that one's okay.
Okay, let's do some favorites here. What is your favorite class to teach?
Ooh, 60-minute intervals.
Oh, okay. Favorite workout, like to do on your own, like on your own time?
I'd say like a long run alternating between tempo and marathon pace.
Oh, that sounds hard.
Horrible, but really rewarding.
Okay. So is there like a warm up, cool down, and then just a long chunk of tempo marathon pace in the middle?
Yeah, when I was doing my trials training, my coach, Stephen Kirsch, was getting me to practice running faster for longer distances. So yeah, he'd get me like a 2-mile warm up, which got me perfectly from Brooklyn over to the West Side Highway in New York. And then I just mile on, mile off marathon pace, which was at that time like 5:45, 5:50 was the slow end of marathon pace, but we were aiming for 5:40. And then tempo pace was around 5:33 for me. And it was mile on, mile off, and we worked up to doing 20-mile runs that way.
Wow. That'll get you fit for sure.
Yeah,
that's
what got me a PR.
I glazed over to that. It just sounded too hard.
You're like,
I'll never do that. Okay, favorite daily trainer right now? Shoot a run in easy days.
Oh my goodness. I do love the New Balance, the Rebel. The Fuel Cell Elite Rebel for dailies.
What colors do you have?
I only have them in the bright blue with the yellow sole.
Okay. Meg's partial to the Sarah.
It's not Sydney McLaughlin.
Sydney McLaughlin.
Oh,
that colorway.
I do have that one, but they're half a size too small, so I can only wear them and walk around. I know, I love them. I also love the new Nike Peg 41.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the energy return on that one is literally what they say. I love that one for my life. For like, I've only had it for a week, and I'm liking the cruise in that.
Okay, and then race day. What are you pulling out to race in? I think I know the answer, but
I am right now. I've changed. I think since we last spoke because I ran a race. I'm back on my Vaporfly, my Nike Vaporflies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the change?
Well, so when we were chatting, SC Elite V4 came up as a favorite.
Yes.
But, so
I really enjoy it.
You go Vaporfly over Alphafly?
The Alphafly, the new Alphafly, I have a pair and I'm scared to put them on my feet at the moment. Because the version before, I think I got the wrong size. I don't know. They were just too tight for me.
Horrible.
And
The second version was really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad. And I honestly, the first version is what I ran the trials in, loved them.
Yes.
Like I
Then
had
you liked
100
the 3.
pairs. Yeah. But then the second pair, I just always felt like I had bricks on my feet.
Yep.
Like no matter, I'd have the freshest legs, I'd put them on and be like, what's wrong with me? What's happening? I don't get it. And then my feet would hurt. So it was just a battle. So I have the new Volt, the ones that kind of go in at the back.
Yeah.
Those ones.
Yeah.
I've got those. I haven't put them on my feet yet, but I'm going to, I think.
You'll be happy with them.
Okay. That's good to know.
The problem, I'll tell you what the problem with the second one was. The wide forefoot, they kind of made a big triangle.
Yeah. Yes.
What happened is when you land, it automatically adjusted all your chain all the way up. So like I did a 20-mile run in it and it twisted my knee out because when you landed, it would torque and torque and torque. So what it was doing was that wide base was just throwing it off. So if you had any, it was non-negotiable because it was so firm underneath there with the pods that it was going to adjust your stride. And that was what happened to me. And I felt like it injured me. The shoe itself injured me. And even without that, it just didn't have the kick and the pop
like
that
the first
one had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I think there was design choices made that didn't necessarily translate into performance.
But the 3, you'll definitely like, because in my opinion, it's the perfect mesh of the Vaporfly and the Alphafly 1. So it was like, it's good. I think you should definitely try it.
The Vaporflies I just go back to. I've been really enjoying the New Balance Fuel Cell Elite V4s for speed work on the tread. Like I love
okay.
those. If I'm doing like a HIIT class, if I'm doing a fast intervals class, that kind of thing.
You'd be the perfect person to ask for this, because I get asked this question. I say that the treadmill's like soft enough that you don't really need a super cushioned shoe for the treadmill.
Yeah.
Now you're
Absolutely.
spending a lot of time on the treadmill. What would be your preference for underfoot cushioning with all that time you're spending on treadmills?
So for me, if I put on, let's talk shoes, the Nike Invincible. If I put that on the tread, no, too much. I'm like, ugh, there's
Just all over
nothing
the place.
giving me very different ride outside for sure on the concrete and the tarmac, but I cannot run in that shoe on the tread. There's just, especially our tread plus with a slat belt is so cushioned and it gives you back energy return. So when you're putting on a shoe that is just absorbing and like springy, it's wild. And I think that also throws you off. I've come off there having like my piriformis is flared up and I'm like, why? And because my body's like, with every step. So, no, for me, it's a fuel cell, Elite V4s, or I'm on my Vaporfly game. Like, I just love them. I feel so comfortable in the
On the
Vaporfly.
treadmill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily do the Alpha Flies on the tread, just
Too much?
well, I also think they're really expensive. So save them for outside, for on the road when you need. The tread doesn't give you a lot of boost, but it gives you something. But the road gives you nothing, like negative if you're running on concrete. Like you need that. Spend the money on that for the outside run, and then use a slightly more like daily shoe. Because I think the Vaporfly can be both for a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Still not a cheap shoe, but
still not a cheap shoe at all.
You can get them on
Yeah.
clearance and stuff like that.
For sure.
That one's got an update coming out this year. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Or is that this year or next year?
Next.
Did Alpha Fly come out this year? It's next year.
Yeah.
This year. Alpha Fly came out at the top of this year.
Yeah. Okay, Bex, I know we've kept you past the hour, so I will just ask you one last thing before you go. What are you excited about this year, whether it's your own personal racing or a trip or a project?
Tallulah sleeping through the night.
Yeah. What's got you excited?
So Tallulah sleeps through the night. She's a legend. She has since she was 3 months old. That's why I mean, Sleep and I really are best friends. I have a sleep angel somewhere. I am really excited to head to Paris for the Olympics this year. I'm heading out with NBC. And I'm running the Marathon Porto, and I can't wait to just
Wait,
be
you're
out
doing
there.
that? You're going to do the marathon that starts at like 10 p.m.?
9 p.m.
Yeah.
9 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh, you're brave.
I know. It's going to be awful.
I thought you said sleep was your friend.
I'm like, you know what? If I just stay on New York time, it won't be so bad.
Yeah, what time will that be in New York?
4 p.m. 3 p.m. 3 p.m.
Yeah,
3 p.m.
That's not that bad.
Yeah. There you go.
So bad.
Yeah.
Good
I
luck.
just got to get up the next morning to do some commentating on the women's race. That's the only problem.
Well, we will be there.
Yeah. So hopefully we can see. We'll definitely come cheer you on.
Yeah.
Because we'll be drinking wine on the sidelines at 9 p.m.
I mean,
while you're running.
I might just grab a glass with you. And
Okay.
just,
Au revoir, Becks.
yeah. Waffle. Have fun.
No, it'll be a good time. Well, that's awesome. And that is exciting. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so fun to chat with you and get to know you a little bit better. And excited to run into it. More events coming up.
I hope so. Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.